One Night in Dubai. A forbidden love she'll never forget. Part 1. The walk across the boulevard. The glass doors of Hilton Dubai Jumeirah slid shut behind her with a soft whoosh, marking the end of a chapter Elena had long outgrown. She adjusted the strap of her shoulder bag and squinted toward the shimmering skyline across the wide boulevard. The towers of Jumeirah Lake Towers rose like polished steel monoliths, sleek, cool and full of promises. Just beyond, the DMCC offices stood, anonymous yet filled with potential. She took a deep breath and started walking. For 2 years, Elena had worked as a receptionist at the Hilton. She greeted tourists with her warmest smile, remembered guest names and answered calls with perfect poise. But behind that professional smile was a woman craving something more. With a master's degree in international business from Switzerland, she hadn't come to Dubai to hand out room keys. Today, she was ready to cross the street literally and metaphorically. She stepped into the third office with quiet confidence, CV in hand. The receptionist glanced up from her screen. "Admin assistant?" she asked. "The director's actually looking." That word again, lucky. A brief interview followed. Elena's quiet intelligence, experience, and elegance caught the attention of the director. A week later, she started her new job working directly under him in a clean, sunlit office on the 25th floor. The owner, she was told, would join occasionally. In her mind, she pictured an older Gulf businessman, grey suit, authoritative tone, formal air. She was very wrong. Part 2. When he walked in. It happened on a Wednesday. Elena was standing near the printer, lost in formatting a report, when the glass door opened and someone entered with quiet authority. She looked up and the world paused. He wasn't what she expected. Not even close. He was tall, early 30s, with sun-kissed olive skin and amber eyes that seemed to take in everything in a single glance. His beard was neatly trimmed, his navy suit flawlessly tailored. He moved with effortless confidence, as if he owned more than the company, perhaps the room, the skyline, the silence itself. "Morning," he said, his voice a smooth blend of English and faint Lebanese warmth. "Good morning, sir," Elena replied automatically, her tone steady but her body betraying her. A wave of heat flushed through her, starting in her chest and cascading lower, tightening everything inside her with a strange ache. He walked past, but not without glancing back once. She sat down quickly, pulse racing. She told herself to focus, but something had shifted. She could feel it. Part 3. A quiet chemistry. The next few days were more intense than any boardroom negotiation. Imad, his name, as she learned, came in daily. Sometimes to check reports, sometimes just to scan the space. But Elena began to notice that his questions often required him to stand close to her desk, to linger just a bit longer than necessary. "You created this market summary yourself?" he asked one afternoon. "Yes," she replied, scrolling through the slides. "Basic segmentation and digital trends." "You're not just an assistant, Elena." She glanced up. His tone was admiring, his eyes even more so. She smiled faintly, aware of her own heartbeat. "I do what needs to be done." Part 4. Late nights and closer moments. One Thursday evening, Elena was the last to leave. She was compiling a pitch deck for a digital product when Imad appeared at her office door. Jacket off, sleeves rolled up. "You're still here?" he asked, stepping in. "I don't like leaving things unfinished." He leaned against the doorframe. "Neither do I." The silence stretched between them, full of meaning. He came closer and sat across from her. There was no one else on the floor now. They ordered shawarma, laughed over childhood memories, and watched the Dubai skyline shift into twinkling stardust. Imad spoke of his wife and child who lived in Beirut, of distance, Of duty, Elena spoke of her fiancé still in Canada who promised to move to Dubai. She hadn't seen him in almost a year, but he swore he'd come. It's like I've been living in pause, she admitted quietly. Imad looked at her gently. I think we both are. Part 5, The First Kiss. Friday evening. The building was quiet again. Imad stopped by her desk as she was packing up. Elena, he said, voice quieter than usual. I think about you. Too much. Her breath caught. I do too, she whispered. He stepped forward. Slowly. Like he wasn't sure whether to cross the line. She closed her eyes, and then his lips touched hers. It wasn't a wild kiss, it was reverent, careful, filled with unsaid things. His hand brushed her jawline, and her fingers found his shirt collar. She felt like the air had been stolen from the room, replaced by warmth. But when his hand slid to her waist, she pulled back. I can't, she said breathlessly. I'm sorry. No, I wanted it too. But... Part 6. The line between desire and loyalty. They sat in the corner office, the moon high above the marina towers. I've never been unfaithful, Elena said softly. Not even in thought. Imad nodded. Neither have I until now. They stared out the window, the silence between them full of longing and fear. I think we were meant to meet, he said. I just don't know if we're meant to last. That night, they left separately. But the next time it happened, it wasn't just a kiss. Part 7. When passion overruled everything, it was late. She had stayed to finish a budget forecast. He had stayed because, well, they both knew why. No words were spoken as he entered. He walked behind her, and she turned. Their kiss this time wasn't hesitant. It was hungry. Clothes fell away, soft blouse buttons undone. Suit jacket discarded. He kissed her neck. Her breath hitched. He lifted her onto the leather couch and worshipped every inch of her skin, from her collarbones to the curve of her thighs. It was not just physical, it was a release. Of loneliness. Of years of waiting. Of quiet tears and unspoken nights. And when they held each other after, neither said anything. Their bodies spoke the truth their lives could never permit. Part 8. The hardest goodbye. The next day, she brought his coffee like always. But this time, they didn't make eye contact. Later, in the conference room, they sat across from one another in silence. We crossed a line, she finally said. I know, he replied. I can't be the other woman. You shouldn't be. I still love the man I promised to, she said. Even if I'm not sure how. Imad looked away. I have a child. I can't undo that. I won't. And so they agreed tearfully, respectfully to end it. They had given in to something real, but temporary. Part 9. After the storm. Weeks passed. The distance between them grew colder, but not cruel. He nodded politely in meetings. She responded with grace. They were professionals again. But sometimes, when their hands brushed over a report or a shared cup of coffee, their eyes met and they remembered. Part X. The man who finally came. 3 months later, her fiancé arrived. He brought flowers and laughter and promises that no longer felt so abstract. They rented a flat near the marina and built a small, hopeful life. He never asked what had happened while he was gone. And she never told him, because how could she explain what Imad had given her? Not betrayal, but a reminder that she was still a woman, still desired, still alive. Epilogue. Across the street. Every now and then, Elena walked past the DMCC tower on her way to the metro. She never went back in, but she always looked up at the glass windows. And sometimes, just sometimes, she swore she saw someone watching. Not to rekindle, not to return, but to remember.